For decades, Russia has boasted about its so-called unmatched military technology. The truth is, Russian weapons are often outdated, poorly maintained, and nowhere near as effective as their Western counterparts. Today, we'll break down 5 biggest myths about Russian and Soviet weaponry and see how they actually perform on the battlefield. First, let's talk about the AK-47. You might be shocked, but it's not an AK-47, that's AKM, which is probably the most produced rifle in the world. This rifle could be seen in the jungles of Vietnam, in the deserts of Iraq, the mountains of Afghanistan, and of course the beautiful sunflower fields of Ukraine. You can easily recognize AKM by its angle-cut muzzle brake. The AKM has been marketed as the ultimate assault rifle, simple, reliable, unstoppable in any condition. For decades, Russian propaganda and action movies made it seem like an AKM could be buried in mud for years, then pulled out and still fire perfectly. The Russian myth says that an AKM rifle can easily shoot through a steel rail, but let's take a closer look. First of all, the AKM was the classic Soviet workhorse from the 1950s. It's truly a solid rifle, no doubt about it. It's cheap, easy to produce, and it also works fine in harsh conditions. But it's not magic. It still jams, especially when it's full of dirt or sand. Its accuracy isn't that great, and the recoil is much harder to control compared to Western rifles like M16. And despite the myth that every AK is the same, Soviet AKMs were actually built much better than the later Russian copies, which suffer from worse materials and quality control. We'll talk about it later, but in addition, you often cannot fit parts from one AK to another AK, they just don't feel right. Now, this is the ammo pack for AK-74. There's 30 rounds inside, which is logical, right? And this is AKM ammo pack. It contains 20 rounds because AKM is 7.62mm rifle. The mag is 30 rounds. 4 mags equals 6 ammo packs, which you may find confusing if you hate maths like me. The muzzle brake is literally dangerous in the confined environment, like in car or a BTR. It's responsible for all the eyes gouged accidentally between 2014 and 2025 that I can remember. Then came the AK-47. Still no, my friends, that's AK-74, designed in the 1970s with a smaller 5.45mm round. The smaller caliber improved the range of the direct shot because the bullet has a greater impulse comparing to 7.62mm. The idea was to reduce recoil and improve accuracy, basically the Soviet answer to the American M16. It kind of worked to some extent, but it also created new problems. The 5.45mm bullet didn't always have enough stopping power, which is why both Russian terrorists and Ukrainian defenders in recent wars have often tried to switch back to older AKMs, even considering that a soldier will carry less ammo. Even though 5.45mm round tends to tumble inside of the human body, leaving some very nasty wounds in your enemy, but in case this enemy is hidden somewhere behind a bush, there's a big chance that he will survive. And while Russian media loves to claim that AK-74 is more reliable than anything, in reality it struggles in dusty or muddy conditions just like any other rifle. In addition to this, my friends, there is absolutely no fast way to clean the piston of this rifle besides sticking it into a sand and twisting it several times. Now let's talk about the AK-12, Russia's so-called modern assault rifle, which was supposed to be a high-tech improvement with better accuracy, new stock, and modern attachments. But the first versions were so bad that even the Russian military rejected them and had to redesign the rifle multiple times. Even now, Russian soldiers complain about poor build quality, wobbly parts, and optic rails that don't hold zero. The gas tube tends to rot, literally. We've captured a lot of them around Kyiv, and we all regret it. Meanwhile, Western rifles like Defense Car or even modernized AR-15s are much more accurate, more modular, and just as reliable, if not more so. So, is the AK a bad rifle? Absolutely not. It's a decent weapon that served its time, but the myth of being the best rifle ever falls apart when you compare it to modern Western firearms. At the end of the day, the AK is just another mass-produced rifle that is cheap, simple, and sometimes effective, but far from the unbeatable weapon Russia claims it to be. And generally speaking, friends, it was like this. You've seen the Russian meat assaults, right? You know how the Russians fight. So at some point after the World War II, they decided to make a cheap, mass-produced rifle. If you have a crowd of not really smart individuals, statistically 100% right-handed, you can teach them how to shoot this rifle and not cry much when they die or lose their weapon because it's cheap. It's literally a weapon of Uruk-hai orcs from The Lord of the Rings. I mean, it's cheap, it's mass-produced, and it does its job. Also, there's absolutely nothing good about it. Next one is SVD, the Dragunov rifle, 7.62mm. This one is one of the most overrated rifles in Russian history. It's often called a sniper rifle, but that's already the first myth, because the SVD was not meant to be a true sniper weapon. It's actually a designated marksman rifle designed to provide mid-range fire support, but not precise long-range shots. But Russian propaganda, video games, and movies have turned it into some kind of legendary super sniper rifle, which it absolutely is not. Let's talk about accuracy. The SVD was built again for mass production, not precision. Its 7.62 by 54mm round is kinda powerful but not very consistent, and it fires from a semi-automatic action, meaning that it cannot achieve the same accuracy as bolt-action sniper rifles like M24 or L96. In reality, hitting a target beyond 600 meters with an SVD requires a lot of luck, while Western snipers regularly engage at over 1000 meters with their rifles. Then there's also the build quality. Soviet-made SVDs were kinda decent, but Russian-produced models suffer from the same quality control issues as other modern Russian weapons. The receivers warp over time, the barrels wear out faster than they should, and the famous PSO-1 scope is completely outdated, with poor clarity and limited adjustment options compared to modern optics. And forget about the modularity. The SVD was never designed for easy upgrades, so adding modern accessories is a big pain. Now, there's one thing you should know about SVD, my dear friends. Please prepare, okay? If you ever wondered about the Russian mentality, then ask yourself, why the SVD is the only so-called sniper rifle that comes with a bayonet? This is all you needed to know about Russian snipers, Russian commanders, and the way they treat their personnel. Just imagine a sniper charging into a banzai attack with a bayonet. Well, on the other hand, we've seen them riding horses already, so it may not sound surprising much, my friends, but the very idea of Soviet snipers used in bayonet attacks, I wonder what kind of genius Russian mind gave birth to this amazing idea. The mighty RPG-7 is one of the most overhyped weapons in history. If you believed action movies, you'd think it can destroy anything. Tanks, helicopters, even entire buildings with a single shot. And let's be honest, we've all seen that ridiculous scene when someone fires an RPG and the target just explodes into a massive fireball like it's made of gasoline. But in reality, no, it's not a Wunderwaffe, not at all. The launcher has been around since the 1960s, and while it was effective back then, modern warfare has left it behind. There are several weak spots that you may find in this weapon, like for example penetration. The standard PG-7 warhead can punch through around 500mm of armor, But against modern tanks with reactive armor and composite plating, that's just not enough. Now, if the munition wasn't inserted properly, it will not shoot. The range is rarely 400 meters. Just forget about what the book says and deal with this. Also, this launcher is made exclusively for right-handed people. Generally, if you are handed an RPG-7, it was already a curse because in addition to all your 30 kg of equipment and munitions, you should also carry a 7 kg tube or additional shells if you're an assistant operator. But if you're a lefty, in addition to all that, please accept my condolences. Also, when you clean your RPG-7 in your tent after shooting, prepare to be hated by all of your mates. Prepare to be called a plumber because this stuff stinks. Now compare that to the PSRL-1, the modernized American version that Ukraine is using currently. We've had them in our brigade since I believe 2017 or so. This one is built with lighter, stronger materials, has improved optics and rails, and can fire with much better range that was extended almost threefold. Basically, it takes everything the RPG-7 was supposed to be and actually makes it work in a modern battlefield. Coolest thing is that you can modify it as much as you like. You can even attach another RPG to your RPG if you're crazy. What can I say, my friends? Russian propaganda does a really good job when it comes to the Russian weapons that in reality are often outdated, poorly built, and nowhere near as powerful as their propaganda claims. And today we didn't even mention the Russian so-called flying tanks. Apparently it will be a topic for the next episodes. Dear friends, let me know in the comments if you liked this one. Also, don't hesitate to like, share and subscribe. My name is Operator Starsky. Thanks for watching.